Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Courtney Octor. I am the Business Development Manager at Integro. Thank you so much for joining our session, Unlock Cloud Security, Master Secrets Management, and Identity Resilience. I have two great speakers today, Bob Kalka, the Global Lead of Worldwide Security at IBM, and Jim Skidmore, Vice President of the Solutions Group here at Integro. And to, just a little housekeeping, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the Q&A section, and we would be happy to answer your questions throughout the presentation. But now I'm going to kick it off to Bob, who will start our presentation.
Thanks, Courtney. Hey, everybody. It's great to see you. So Jim and I will take you through kind of this fascinating topic, because when you talk about cloud security, you very quickly get into identity management in both human and non-human identity management. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how non-human identity management and identity management, kind of how they're doing, and then how do you fit them together to actually build resilience across your cloud security stuff. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you just for a quick intro as well.
Yep. Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to it, Bob. So much has happened with IBM's acquisition of Hashi and world-class methodology for secrets management, rotation, safety, security. Definitely really excited about how we govern all of that and the thousands of users out there. So excited to have this discussion.
Yeah, I can give you a little inside baseball for you all that we've acquired since 1999. We've acquired 32 companies that were released partially for cybersecurity reasons, of building our portfolio. And the HashiCorp folks are amazing. Like, everyone is deep there. Like, even marketing people are deep there. So they've been an incredible addition to us. So a lot of what you're going to see, because of course HashiCorp Vault is considered to be the kind of gorilla, if you want to call it that, of the secrets management industry. So we've learned a lot very quickly from the HashiCorp team, and you're going to see some of that wisdom as we go through this. So it's clear that within cloud security, it's almost getting cliche to say this now. It's so well understood that identities have become the number one attack vector. Our X-Force team at IBM puts out a threat intelligence index. And in the latest one, it showed that there's a 71% year-to-year increase in using compromised credentials. And in fact, 30% of everything that X-Force saw in the last year was leveraging a compromised credential to do an attack. And there's a related study from Ponemon Institute that pointed out that the worst case on average time to detect and contain a cyber attack today, there's lots of different types of cyber attacks. And the Ponemon Institute, in our cost of data breach study, the new one just came out, looked at different reasons for a cyber attack, root causes and root usage, and then how long it takes on average to identify and contain an attack. And the worst one by far is leveraging a compromised valid credential. And that's 292 days. That's not good. 2/3 of a year just to identify and contain the attack, because of course it looks like a valid user, right? So that's kind of one of the, let's call it, philosophical roots for the problems here. Then you look at 60% of attacks being identity based. A lot of people are claiming it's 80% now. And on top of that is 84% of organizations have had identity related breaches themselves on this. So every stat you look at these days, no matter the source, is pointing out that identities have become a problem. And all of us that have been working on identities for a while, personally, I am literally in my 31st year of working on identity and access management, starting with LDAP directories and web single sign-on, if you remember all the heyday in the 90s. So this has always been an issue. All of us that have been in the space a long time aren't surprised by this. But this is finally the point at which everyone outside of the IAM, or identity and access management bubble, realizes that they can't just pretend this thing will get taken care of, right? So one of the biggest problems that we've seen is that there's a fundamental disconnect between IT and the CISO office and DevOps, or DevOps or platform engineering, whatever you happen to call it. And the problem is that IT and CISO office, depending on how you're organized, is managing the human identities. You then have DevOps or platform engineering manage the non-human identities, like the machine identities and the secrets, and never the twain shall meet. I mean, some organizations will have a monthly call and talk about ideas, but the reality is I'm in front of folks like you every day, is that when the doors are closed, it's like, yeah, we need to do more, but we're not doing enough between the two sides. So identity observability, as you see in red on the slide here, becomes a huge topic, because what identity observability gives you is the ability to see what's happening in the non-human side with the secrets, on the human side, and then between the two, the interaction between human and non-human identities. And so identity observability addresses all of that. And you'll see that's a big theme here, because being able to do that allows both teams, the DevOps and the IT CISO side, to actually work together and actually address this. So let me show you kind of the philosophy behind it, of the blunt reality of what we're seeing. So whenever we go into a client to talk about the human side of identity management, we inevitably talk about the two kinds of identities. Everybody talks about workforce, consumer, internal, external, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm amazed is that 90% of the time when I ask a client, first time I'm meeting them, well, what's your strategy for dealing with workforce, consumer, IAM? They inevitably give me the name of a tool. And they'll say, oh, we've standardized on Octaping, SailPoint, ForgeRock, Entra, IBM Verify, whatever happens to be. And I'll say, okay, but that's a tool. And they'll say, yeah, well, but we did this bake-off, and this is our strategic tool, and we expect people are going to use it. And then I said, well, what about the fact that you probably have at least one, if not more, workforce IAM solution? Are you going to migrate that? And a lot of the time it's like, well, we're treating this as a separate use case. And a lot of times on the workforce side, there's a homegrown system that was written 20 to 25 years ago that the organization has been trying to get rid of for 15 to 20 years. And then an on-prem thing was put in 10 to 15 years ago that was supposed to make the homegrown system that's still around go away. And that's before you even get to the fact that then you also generally have a lot of legacy systems where you have IAM built in, where you have a side file with user IDs and passwords and stuff. And everybody goes, oh, that's a sunk cost. The gal that wrote it isn't here anymore. We're not opening that up. And typically those don't support MFA or passwordless or anything like that too. But we'd like to extend it to that, but we're not touching those. And then that's before you get to hybrid multi-cloud, that you're also managing identities there. So if there's any wonder why there's so many attacks coming through human identities, because you have disconnected teams and tools that are dealing with this mess. But what's wild is what everybody started to realize is that there's a much bigger problem. And the much bigger problem is that it's said there's anywhere from 6 to 60 non-human identities for every human identity in a given firm. We haven't even talked about the non-human identities yet. Machine identities, secure API management, PKI cert management, AI agents, right? Here the issue is the standard practice that most of the DevOps teams are doing is hard coding secrets in their apps so the apps can connect securely. And it's kind of funny, the more we've gotten to know the Hashi team and they share us their insights, a lot of times the secret is like a pet name in open text. I mean, you go blah, but it's easy, right? And you're trying to get the code out and you get it out and go do stuff. So instead of hard coding secrets within applications, of course, what you ought to be doing is leveraging a secrets management engine so it becomes auditable, and then ultimately tying it into your larger IAM practices. So that's what people would like to do, but they're really struggling. So we've identified about a couple of dozen different use cases of things that people really are trying to get done today. But Jim and I are just going to share the top 6 with you, because there's 6 that just are coming up in every single conversation. The first one is that term identity observability. What that means is threefold. Number 1, are you able to detect all the shadow identities and shadow identity related assets in your environment? Because I can tell you from firsthand knowledge, firsthand experience, that everyone has shadow directories, for example. You got a department set up a directory, you got 35 people authenticating against it. It was for a project that was supposed to close down 2 years ago. They're still using it. IT doesn't even know about it. It's not being managed according to policy because IT didn't know about it. So you find shadow directories, shadow assets, shadow access to outside apps. That's on the human side. On the non-human side, can you find those hard-coded secrets? Can you find secrets being shared in GitHub, for example? So that's observability on the human and non-human side. But then, as I alluded to earlier, one of the dynamics that we're starting to see a lot, which is kind of freaky, is you're starting to see weird behavior between human and non-human identities. So I'll give you a simple example. You got a non-human machine service account. And all of a sudden, can you tell when all of a sudden 17 human identities start regularly using that non-human service account to get access to backend resources? And of those 17 human identities, 7 of them had not been used in the last year and a half. That looks pretty suspicious. Can you even detect that that's happening? That's also in the category of identity observability, is watching the interaction and being able to tell when there's unnatural actions taking place between the non-human and the human identities. So that's identity observability. Find the secrets, find the shadow assets, and find the unuseful usage between the human and non-human identities. You understand why it's such a big deal, and it just hasn't been possible to do this until recently. Then the second one is frictionless access. That's the user experience, right? Is how do you make sure that even those legacy apps can do MFA and passwordless support, like with FIDO2 PS keys and stuff. So the user experience is much better, but it's also much more secure. The third use case is let's get out of hard coding the secrets and actually do an auditable secrets engine where all the application apps objects go to the secrets engine to get a secret share. Now, what most people that are using that, and of course, HashiCorp Vault is the gorilla of this market for doing this, but that gives you a auditable secret, which is great, but most people deploy that in a static way. They'll get the secret and they'll use it forever. So what most people want to get to, but a lot of folks are struggling to get there just because of the level of discipline that's needed, is getting into dynamic secrets, where you get a short-lived secret. So every time this app object connects to this app object, you go to the secrets management and you get a short-lived secret, and the next time you go, you're probably getting a different one, right? That's dynamic secrets, and that is by far the most secure approach. But I will tell you, most folks aren't there yet, but that's where folks want to get to. Then there's, my goodness, are we really talking about this 22 years after Sarbanes-Oxley came out? Right, of privileged access management. It's PAM for both human and non-human identities. The issue here is that everybody does PAM, but almost everybody does it to a subset of the privileged identities. And the cyber insurance providers have figured this out, and it's now a thing. The cyber insurance providers will ask you, do you know where all your privileged identities are? And do you have full PAM controls against them? And if not, we're going to raise your rates. We're not going to renew your policy, whatever. It's become a big deal. So PAM is one that comes up all the time. And then the last one that we want to share here is kind of the other end of identity observability. If identity observability finds the shadow assets and finds the hard-coded secrets and the interaction between the human and non-human identities, identity threat management is, can you tell that there's an attack taking place around an identity in real time? And the most common type of attack that we're seeing is actually policy bypasses. So I give you a simple example. You have a user authenticates, gets access, and a user in that, let's say, group or role, getting to this app requires MFA in front of it. And I walk into clients all the time. Yep, and there's no way around it. You would not believe all the bypasses we find. And so you go, wait a minute, this user authenticated, and then they clearly accessed the app, but there was no activity against the MFA engine. There must be a side door or Citra to get there. How does that happen? So that's the biggest thing for ITDR, what people call ITDR, Identity Threat Detection and Response. What's interesting is the observability piece I started with, a lot of people will call ISPM or Identity Security Posture Management, because where do I have sloppy posture like shadow assets I don't know about? Whereas the ITDR, Identity Threat Management, is where is there actually a problem that I need to deal with. Okay, those are the 6 use cases. So with our acquisition of HashiCorp, the combination of HashiCorp Vault, HashiCorp Boundary, and IBM Verify gives us the ability to address not only those 6 use cases, but many more. But we're just going to talk about these 6 today. And what the kind of secret sauce for us is being able to have that identity observability that works with both the non-human and human identity. So our approach for this is we're going to inspect. We're going to inspect, protect, and govern. For inspect, we're going to find the secrets, and we're going to find the shadow assets. For secrets discovery, the solution is HashiCorp Vault Radar, brand new product. It goes out and finds the secrets. For the identity observability, finding the shadow assets, that's called Verify Identity Protection. I'm going to show this to you again in a few minutes. But it's that observability layer that works between Hashi and IBM. And what's interesting is it works with all the other IDPs as well. So if you have Okta, Ping, ForgeRock, Entra, it works with those too. That observability layer does not require our IDP. So that's why I'm bold enough to say an AI-fueled identity fabric in the title to this, because whatever you have, we can bring this capability, these use cases to you without using our IDP. We have this functionally built as a module that is IDP independent, which is really powerful because that's how you get a real fabric, not a vendor-centric identity fabric, which most of the other ones out there are. Then on protection, you want to protect the secrets. That's HashiCorp Vault. Then you have PAM. That's a combination of our IBM Verify privilege, which is based on our partnership with Delinea, as well as HashiCorp Boundary for DevOps cases, especially around SSH. And then ITDR comes from Verified Identity Protection, and behavioral analytics, which is finding when someone's using a compromised valid credential. That comes from another AI support that we have from an acquisition we did of a company called Trusteer. It is the world leader in banking for detecting real-time transactional fraud in financial transactions. We literally have that same AI engine baked into our stack. And so that same AI engine can discover when someone is leveraging a compromised valid credential, like in the first couple of seconds, as opposed to waiting 292 days to figure it out and do something about it. So that's very powerful. And then for govern, you want to make sure that you've got full governance, and we do that across both HashiCorp and IBM. So a simple way to summarize what I just said is that if you think about those compelling use cases around cloud security, the first one is secrets management, and it's HashiCorp Vault. And if you want to do the discovery or the inspect part of it, Vault Radar gives you that capability. Then for the user experience, that's clearly our Verify solution, IBM Verify. Now, we've had a lot of clients that want to be able to add MFA and passwordless support, frictionless authentication to their long legacy applications. And most of the IDPs on the market aren't able to support a lot of legacy applications, such as WebSphere applications, right? There's a billion of them out there. And most of the IDPs on the market don't support WebSphere, the standards that like LPTA that WebSphere supports. So we also have a solution called Verify Application Gateway, which is disconnected from our IDP and works with Octoping, ForgeRock, Microsoft Entra. So if you have those IDPs, we can add MFA and frictionless to your WebSphere legacy apps with this Verify Application Gateway. It's not an IDP, it's just that capability to do the shimming in the application. Then for the secure access, once again, it's Verify for us. If you're looking for that behavioral analysis of being able to detect when someone who's not the real user is logging into a valid credential, because you can tell by typing rate and stuff like that, that's called Verify Trust, and that works with Okta, ForgeRock, right? Entra, Ping. So if you have those, you can get that advanced behavioral analysis in your environment. Once again, that's what we mean by an identity fabric. We're not making you take anything out. We're allowing the stuff to work together better. Then for governance, of course, it's our Verify governance solution. And then for PAM, it's once again Verify privileged identity, which is our Delinea relationship. And then HashiCorp Boundary is for those DevOps use cases around SSH right now. Then, but as I said earlier, the magic here is that we have this observability layer for both human and non-human or machine identities. and that's Verify Identity Protection. Let's look at that in a little bit more detail. They have a great term for this, a slogan for this tool when we partnered to build this, and it's that hackers don't break in, they log in. Right? They used to break in, but now they just log in and use compromised valid credentials. How do you figure that out? Well, you need both the posture management to find the sloppiness in identity configurations, and then ITDR to actually see and take an advantage of. So finding the blind spots that you don't even realize are there, and then find the attacks in real time. And we do that, right, through this product called Verify Identity Protection. It's with our partnership with a startup that we've poured a lot of money in, a Gartner cool vendor called Offmind. And once, if you look at this, you totally get it quick. It takes all the net flows, cloud flows, and identity events, and it's an AI engine that literally has been around about 4.5 years now. So it's gotten really good at what it does. And what it does is look at the identity events, look at all the cloud and network flows, and says, wait a minute, why are those 17 human identities using this non-human identity all of a sudden, especially ones that weren't even being used before? So that's Verify Identity Protection. It's an incredible dashboard that shows you the most important stuff. There's over 70 different detection logics. It finds local account usage, and it finds the shadow identities. It finds the policy bypasses. It finds MFA bypass, VPN bypass, ZTNA bypass, even PAN bypass. It finds all those things, and it does it using flow analysis. So when you find something and click on it, it'll bring up a flow chart that shows the activity of when it started, and you can go to any point and see exactly what was happening. So this is true identity observability for both human and non-human identities. Of the 70 different detection logics, here's the stuff that's used for the most, because we've had this out for about a year now. So we got a bunch of clients that are using it. The shadow access, the cred hygiene, using service accounts, and then the bypasses. That's the most popular stuff that people are using this for. Now, the way it works is really powerful, because all you do is hook it into wherever it's most convenient for you to pull the Cloudflow network flow and identity activity. So for example, if you're already pulling all that stuff into your SIM, then you can just pull it from the SIM. If you're not, then you just put out sensors that pull in the data in the various parts of your network. And what we do is first map it all together. We have the AI-based deep learning that looks at the behaviors. Remember, it's 4.5 years of learning what are good behaviors and bad behaviors, and then allowing you to set up a response, either a set of activities to respond, or it can even call out to a SOAR engine if you got a security orchestration automated response engine, and kick off a runbook to go fix what you find. And it's constantly building these flows. So once again, this is that identity observability layer over both HashiCorp and Verify and Okta and Ping and everybody else. So as I said, there's lots of very flexible ways to deploy this. So that's great flexibility. And I want to share this with you because if you analyze the now infamous Change Healthcare breach, there were really 4 critical points in that breach. And if you look at what those leading indicators were for those 4 very important moments in the Change Healthcare breach, it's, could you detect unexpected access to an exposed access? Could you detect user access with weak credentials? Could you find access to a new cloud file share that you hadn't seen before? And can you tell access to a known like C2C host? Because those were indicators of kind of the 4 inflection points in the Change Healthcare breach. And Verified Identity Protection has all of that built in. It could have found all 4 of those things. So that's frankly pretty dramatic. So that's what VIP is all about. So once again, when we're talking about cloud security and secrets management and identities in particular, the key to resilience is being able to see the reality and then respond to it. So regardless of what IDP you're using today, the ability to provide awesome secrets management, which that's what HashiCorp Vault does for a living very, very well. And then have this VIP observability layer that allows you to both see the sloppy parts of what needs to be cleaned up in both human and non-human identities, and then actually respond to what you see is what this is all about. And this gives you the ability to actually implement a real identity fabric. So we offer a no charge. I'm going to turn over to Jim here in a sec, but we offer a no charge security posture assessment where we use this technology to help you start to see. And I can tell you, you will always see some stuff that will be very interesting of really building in the observability and the secrets management into your systems. So Jim, I'm going to let you take it from here.
All right, sounds good. I guess, can you flip over? Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, great. Yeah, so this is paying the bills a little bit. Thanks for that, Bob. We and we'll talk more about ways that people can take advantage of that complimentary posture assessment so that they can see shadow identity activity. They can see kind of all these things. Basically, what Integro does is focus really on security, compliance, and risk management issues like these, and especially in the identity and access management realm, working with world-class tools like VIP, like Verify Governance, HashiCorp, and our customers who are kind of all over the US and internationally are big-time users and fans of these technologies. So we could probably scoot over to the last one. I won't go into the award stuff. For attending today, we're grateful for your being here. Some of the things that we do that help us garner relationships with folks, but help folks to solve some of the issues Bob was talking about, are preliminary assessments to help them plan for issues they might have around posture, policy, whether they're NIST or MITRE framework related or whatever their strategy might be. A SIM, SOAR, or SOC infrastructure review can often help. Excuse me. We're seeing more and more issues like VIP be able to feed the SOAR, as Bob was talking about earlier, because detect and respond is broader than just what we used to call the edge. Now the edge is all around us. So protecting those identity assets literally, give you a incredibly bolstered method to prevent phishing attacks and compromises along those lines. As Bob mentioned earlier, we do kind of complementary identity security posture assessment. I think when people see that, and I know the first time I ever did, it was kind of shocking to be able to see these identity workflows and to garner a real purview into what people are doing, where they're going, what they're touching. So we have not seen anything like that before, I would say. So that's something that if you'd like to take advantage of, we strongly recommend and are happy to provide that for you. Other items that we get involved with from an identity perspective are obviously health check remediation. If you're looking at FERC or Sarbanes-Oxley or Gramm-Leach-Bliley or HIPAA or any of the issues that people are dealing with today, they basically attempt to do the same thing, right? We have to go out and do attestation. We have to verify that people are who they say they are, automate that process. Our goal is to help you streamline that process and make it as simple as possible. In that case, we have many friends and customers out there who previously were allocating 10 to 20 people collecting log events and spreadsheets, and they're still doing that today, right? So the way that they're able to aggregate this takes them probably 90 days times the whole team annually to provide this reporting back to audit. Our goal is to help you solve problems like that for your compliance issues and automate those processes wherever possible. We do also work with people to plan the voyage to least privilege. I think we're all a little tired probably of the word zero trust because we've been talking about it for about 9 years now. The bottom line is there are simple, easy ways for people to align, even if their topology is widely spread, multinational, different network segments all over the place. But there are ways to kind of simplify things. And we help people to do that because statistically it reduces risk at a very large rate. So this is not just a situation where we'll feed some of your log events into a SIM and kick out a report. We actually sit down with people and talk about what their global strategy is based on their AD instances or whatever IDP information they have, look at attributes that they might be using, look at roles and role modeling, methodology, and help them to plan to simplify their organization. Also, a lot of people have mutation throughout the years. I think Bob was talking about this a little bit earlier. But what happens in that case is, if you're in a company for 9 years and you have 3 jobs, you probably have access to everything you've ever had access to, right? In most organizations. This is a policy violation. It will help you fail the audit. Also, if we find people still that are what we call orphans in the LDAP and the central directory, this is another good way to fail an audit, right? So if people are provisioned or supposed to be deprovisioned and still have an active account, that's, as we all know, a no-no. We do get involved with helping people at a higher level look at their security posture. What are the must-haves we have? And then oftentimes they'll might look on a broader perspective to policy, which is basically to say, based on the items we must have, what are the rules we're going to govern our user base with in order to bring in new technologies? Because we do the same thing with all kinds of new technologies, including AI. We see people all the time logging in with ungoverned, uncertified AI assistants and agents that folks may use in technology, touching corporate data, but they are not governed. So how do you, if you're creating an AI policy workflow and then a person leaves a company, or that workflow is not associated with a human identity, how do you pass an audit then, right? And we're starting to see that become more and more of an issue. Obviously, the last thing that we do are what we call business value assessments, making sure folks are getting the most out of their investments. So we are happy to kind of go through whatever part of the technology stack, especially in the security side, to help people make sure that they're gaining value from what they have. Sometimes people might have a tool that performs 3 functions that folks are doing with 3 different tools. So we never know what will come upon. But yeah, these are all complementary maturity assessments. We offer them to the market. It's how we make a lot of the friends that we have in multiple verticals. And, this is something that you can easily take advantage of by simply getting back to us with your, request to kind of look deeper into it. So that's mostly, kind of what we had from the Integro, perspective here. I think the posture management thing, as Bob was alluding to earlier, if you have not dug in and looked at what you have out there, it's a pretty good time to do it. This week we had a multitude of challenges. I don't want to name everybody's breach this week, but there were about 31 substantial ones, including Allianz and a bunch of others. And folks are very mature in a lot of these cases in terms of their posture. But, there are parts cropping up every day, as Bob alluded to earlier, that we're not always aware of. So how you're managing that policy is critical.
Right. And being able to see in real time, for example, when you have a bunch of unused human identities that start using non-human identities, you need to be able to catch that stuff as it's happening, as opposed to wait for some downstream SOC tool to figure it out. And that's where this whole concept of ISPM and ITDR and identity observability has become kind of the front row seat. And as we showed here, that with HashiCorp, now we can give that to you for both the human and non-human side.
Yep. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the lion's share of what we wanted to impart today. I think we're at about 40 minutes, so we're actually on time, strangely enough. But yeah, I guess we would probably take any questions if anybody has any. Trying to look in here and see.
So we just had a question come through. So how do you think you do posture management better or differently than others?
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we answered that of that we address both human and non-human identities with our posture management. Because the addition to VIP, the addition of HashiCorp Vault Radar, gives us the ability to find the hard-coded secrets, to see them shared in GitHub and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, I can tell you that we have worked with a multitude of IAM technologies and providers. We have never seen anywhere in the market the opportunity for people to trace along any IDP and see in real time that identity activity, and as Bob alluded to, disseminate between human and non-human identities and track what's really occurring, right? Not to mention have the capability to detect and respond to any threat that's in flight. So I can honestly say, and maybe it's easier for us to say as an integrator, but we have never seen that level of visibility in any other tool in the market. And we have a multitude of partners and look at the tools all the time. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. And Bob, thanks again for highlighting again the focus on human identities and machine identities with what's being offered when it comes to observability and threat management. And another question is, and Bob, you talked about like all of the acquisitions within the IBM ecosystem over the last, couple of decades. And with IBM's acquisition of Hashi, how do you plan to govern Vault?
Well, so let's be clear, Vault has some killer governance built into it. So Vault kind of governs itself, if we're being honest. The governance that we enable with Vault through the observability layer is once again that we're able to see the soft spots in the configuration. Like, let me give you an example. A very common one is that we're starting to see a lot of cases where we'll go into a client and find out that they've got 7, 8, 13 different instances of Vault Community Edition that their DevOps teams have spread and are using all over the organization. And there's no management. There's no governance between them at all. So the ability for VIP to detect these instances of like Vault Community Edition plus other competitive key managers allows the platform engineering DevOps team to say, wait a minute, we need to get better governance around this. Why don't we just use a single instance of Vault Enterprise and pull all that stuff together into one? Because clearly, if you have a bunch, of secrets management engines that individual teams are managing, that's not real smart. And so that's an example for you of how the observability layer that VIP provides allows you to see that, so you can actually improve your governance by going to the incredibly well-governed Vault Enterprise Edition.
Yeah, I would, if I could add, using verified governance, we can assure also that only authorized users can access Vault secrets, right, based on roles and policies or entitlements. these access controls are also really good at streamlining time and effort, right? Because every access request and approval is logged, which we need those logs, right? Helping, to meet the regulatory requirements that folks have, because they can easily flow into SIM. And as Bob mentioned earlier, avoiding hard-coded credentials by automatically assigning access to secrets based on user roles makes life, very simple, right? So we can also automate and deprovision users when they join or leave teams. If people are working in move or join or leaver model, we can make the vault access automatically updated with no help desk or L2, intervention whatsoever. So, that part is good. Just like we would govern any other application framework with identity, we can do the same with Vault. Yeah, we also can do things like governing roles to Vault policies, or really mapping those two for fine-grained access control for those users. So, users can even request access to Vault secrets through Verify workflows, reducing administrative overhead. I mean, the net is we can get people deprovisioned, provisioned quicker, and more governance focused, more compliance focused, and more security optimized using Verify to govern that, especially if people have that today. And they're actually paying attention to, kind of how Vault should be managed. To Bob's point, like people that are using community edition of things oftentimes aren't, really concerned about how people are gaining access to these assets. But now they can be, and in the maximum productivity focused and security method. So just 2 cents, more like 50 cents. So
yeah, no, great points from both of you. Just double checking, I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. If you have another question, we'd be happy to answer it, but thank you to those that asked some really great questions. Any last comments, Bob, Jim? This has been a really, really enlightening session.
No, just I mean, just be bold. Be bold enough to see reality. There are tools now that allow you to see the reality, and I find it humorous that sometimes I'll go into a client and they'll say, "I'm scared to look at this because we're a little busy." But since identities are the number one attack vector, not taking a look at what that attack vector is throwing at you is a grave mistake.
Yeah, I would definitely concur. I mean, especially since we are seeing so much more activity now than we have even seen 6 months ago. I work a little bit with CISA advisory and some other folks out there, and we were looking at guardrails for AI and a number of other issues. Now, the straight on standard good old phishing attacks and brute force, kinds of activities have never been more focused and stronger. And we have quantum on the horizon to help to bolster the adversary there. So if you can see what you don't see today, why wouldn't you? So doesn't cost anything. And our goal is to educate everybody and make them feel, like there is hope and there is an answer. So.
Well, thank you for a great session, Bob and Jim. If you would like to do a deeper dive, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to, again, work with you and do a complimentary assessment and really kind of help answer your questions around this topic. So thank you so much. We will share the recording following this session, and we hope everyone has a great week.
Take care.
Take care. Thanks.